He kicked her in front of everyone, friends, neighbors, even the new receptionist from his office, then smiled like it was a joke. But what he didn't know was that the woman he humiliated had already started reading the fine print of her silence. And this time, she wasn't going to cry. She was going to take everything back, piece by piece, quietly, legally, and without warning. This is a story of betrayal, resilience, and the quiet kind of revenge that leaves no room for mercy. Sit back, relax, and watch it unfold. The music pulsed through the air, glasses clinked, and laughter floated above the clatter of heels across marble tiles. Raymond's 30th birthday party was in full swing, guests mingling, drinks flowing, the scent of grilled peppered meat lingering in the air. Erica moved between them with a polite smile, balancing a tray of drinks with practiced grace. She tried to ignore the tightness in her chest, the pressure building like a silent scream no one else could hear. Her gown shimmered under the lights, elegant but simple, a reflection of the woman she used to be, before the lies, the loneliness, and the long silences that said too much. Then it happened. She turned to walk away after hearing one of his friends joke about her being too traditional. Her heel caught on the rug, and she stumbled forward. Just as she reached out to regain her balance, Raymond stuck his foot out, subtle but deliberate, and tripped her. Erica fell hard. Before she could rise, he kicked her sharply in the side, not in panic, not by mistake. It was cruel, intentional, a message. Gasps echoed across the room. Glasses stopped mid-air. Erica lay frozen on the cold tile floor, her dress twisted, pain searing through her ribs, her palms scraped. Silence swallowed the party. Raymond stood over her, one hand holding a champagne flute, a smug grin plastered across his face like a mask. "She is just so lazy and clumsy," he said loudly. "Now you all see what I deal with every day." A few people laughed. Not everyone, but enough. Erica's face burned with shame. She didn't cry. Not there. Not in front of all those people, his colleagues, his friends, even the new receptionist from his office who had no business being at their home. She slowly got to her feet, and not one hand offered to help her. Raymond sipped his drink like nothing had happened. In that moment, Erica knew. The man she had once loved was gone, replaced by someone cruel, entitled, and drunk on power she had helped him build. She stared at him one last time and quietly walked away. She wasn't going to cry in front of them, but she was going to remember every face that laughed, every face that turned away, and she was going to take back everything he thought she would never have the strength to reclaim. Silently, legally, and completely. Erica didn't sleep that night. After everyone left and the music faded into silence, she locked herself in the bathroom, sitting on the cold tiles with her knees pulled to her chest. Her body ached, but it was her heart that felt broken beyond repair. How did they get here? Just a few years ago, she would have laughed at the idea that Raymond, her Raymond, could ever hurt her. Back then, he had been kind, quiet, focused, the kind of man who listened more than he spoke. They met in the narrow aisles of a dusty second-hand bookstore in Sur-Alaire. Erica was managing her aunt's small food delivery startup at the time, juggling logistics and late payments, but somehow still smiling through the chaos. Raymond was hunched over a worn laptop, sketching ideas in a notebook. He had dreams of building a gaming app, something he said would change the way Nigerians played and connected. He was broke but charming. He spoke like someone who believed in himself, even when he had nothing. They started talking. Slowly at first, about books, music, life. Then more often. He'd wait outside her office just to walk her to the bus stop. He would text her long, thoughtful messages at night. He never asked for anything. He just listened. Erica had never met a man like that. When he told her about his app idea, her eyes lit up. She believed in it. She believed in him. And when her father passed a few months later, leaving her 10 million as inheritance, she didn't even hesitate. She invested half of it into Raymond's idea. "You're not just funding a dream," he had said, holding her hands tightly, eyes glassy with emotion. "You're building our future." 8 months later, they were married. Erica wore a cream lace gown. It wasn't a big wedding, just a few friends, family, and hopeful promises exchanged under the warm Lagos sun. But looking back now, she saw the signs. Her friends called him ambitious. Erica called him focused. They didn't see the way his smile shifted when she had the spotlight. They didn't hear the comments he made when she offered suggestions, gentle corrections dressed as jokes. They didn't see how he started treating her like an assistant, not a partner. Erica ignored the whispers in her heart. She thought marriage would soften him, that success would humble him, that love would change him, but it didn't. Raymond changed, and she let him, for too long. Now, curled on the bathroom floor, the ache in her side reminding her of the party, of the fall, of the kick, she realized something. He didn't climb to the top alone. She was the ladder, and tomorrow, she would stop holding him up. By morning, Erica rose from the cold bathroom tiles with a different kind of strength. She didn't speak to Raymond. She didn't need to. He barely noticed her silence. After all, in his mind, the party was a success, his birthday, his deal, his world. What was a little stumble, a little kick? He was already moving on. And that was when she truly knew he never saw her as a partner. But now she was stepping aside. She remembered how he had started the gaming app. 2 years ago, the app had launched quietly, with little attention at first. Raymond called it Playzone, and Erica helped him with everything, from packaging investor emails to testing the first version late into the night. She even convinced her aunt to use the startup's courier drivers to help with early promotions. Every day, they worked side by side at the small plastic table in their sitting room, eating cold rice and chasing a dream. And slowly, it began to grow. A few YouTubers reviewed the app. Then a tech blog featured it. Before long, Playzone was trending among university students. Raymond lit up with purpose, and Erica was proud of him, proud of them. Their apartment got an upgrade. So did his wardrobe. He bought a car, then hired 2 staff members, then leased an office space in Lekki. But as his world grew bigger, hers grew smaller. "Let's divide roles," he told her one evening, not asking, telling. "I'll handle the business accounts. You just focus on being my queen." His queen. The words sounded sweet, but they came with invisible chains. Erica started staying home more, handling the cooking, the bills, the laundry, even errands for his staff. When she asked questions about finances or the app's growth, he would sigh dramatically or roll his eyes. "Don't stress about it," he'd say. "You wouldn't understand. Just trust me." But trust started to feel like blindness. At first it was little things, late nights that became more frequent, meetings that turned into business dinners, the smell of strange perfume on his shirts, lipstick stains that didn't belong to her. And each time she asked, he made her feel like she was the problem. "Are you accusing me?" he snapped once, slamming the bedroom door. "You're always paranoid. You don't trust me because you're insecure," he hissed another time. "You should see someone about that." Erica started doubting herself. Maybe she was being too sensitive. Maybe success changed people, and she just needed to adjust. She told herself to be patient, to be supportive. After all, wasn't that what a wife should do? She stopped asking questions. She smiled in public, posed for pictures when investors were around. But inside, she was fading. Her voice felt smaller. Her opinions were silenced before she could finish a sentence. She watched other women enter their lives, his co-workers, his investors, women who laughed too loudly at his jokes and stayed too long after meetings. And Erica? She became invisible in her own home. Raymond never raised a hand during those years. He didn't need to. His silence, his mocking laughter, his carefully chosen words, they cut deeper than any slap. By the time Raymond landed a partnership deal with a major tech company, Erica had mastered the art of shrinking so he could shine. She didn't recognize herself anymore. But last night, the night of his 30th birthday party, the night he tripped and kicked her in front of everyone, something snapped awake inside her. Because in front of all those people, he didn't just humiliate her, he confirmed what she had tried to deny for too long. Raymond didn't love her. He used her, and now, he had no idea the woman he had silenced for so long was finally ready to speak, not with words, but with actions. By the end of that week, Erica had made up her mind. She would no longer stay small so Raymond could feel big. But just as the resolve was settling in her spirit, he came home one evening, tossing his car keys onto the console like nothing had ever happened. "I need you to handle something," he said, loosening his tie and scrolling through his phone. "We're hosting a promotion party this weekend. The company wants to celebrate the new partnership." Erica blinked. "This weekend? You're just telling me now?" It's Thursday, he said casually. That's enough time. I trust you'll figure it out. She wanted to say no. She wanted to remind him that she wasn't his errand girl, that he hadn't even apologized for kicking her in front of everyone on his birthday, or for the lies, the cheating, or the years of silence. But something in her paused. Maybe, just maybe, this was a chance to see if there was anything left to save. Maybe he'd say sorry. Maybe for once he'd see her, really see her. So she nodded slowly. All right, I'll take care of it. And she did. She booked the venue, coordinated catering, ordered fresh flowers, printed name tags, arranged for music, and even bought herself a simple but elegant dress. She didn't know why she tried so hard. Maybe she needed to believe that this time he'd be different. The night of the event, the hall shimmered with soft lights and gold accents. Guests arrived in designer suits and glittering gowns. Cameras flashed. Music floated in the background. Erica moved among them, making sure everything went smoothly. She spotted Raymond at the far end of the room, laughing with a group of colleagues and new investors. His voice was louder than usual, his smile wider. As she approached with a tray of wine, she overheard one of his friends, a man with a sharp jaw and a loud laugh, ask, "Is that your wife? She doesn't look like she fits in here." Raymond didn't defend her. He shrugged and smirked. "She's from a different world, but she's learning her place." Erica stopped mid-step. Those words sliced deeper than any insult. She turned, quietly placing the tray on the nearest table. Her hands were trembling, but she forced herself to stay composed. As she walked away, trying to steady her breath, she felt a sudden pull. Before she could react, Raymond grabbed her arm in full view of the crowd. "Where are you going?" he asked loudly. "I need a minute," she whispered, trying not to cause a scene. "Always running," he said, shaking his head. "You don't know how to behave in public." "Raymond, please," she said, voice cracking. Then came the slap. It landed hard and sudden across her cheek, silencing the room. Gasps filled the space. Some guests covered their mouths, others just watched. Raymond adjusted his suit and said, "She has no right to raise her voice at me. I was only correcting her." A few people laughed again. Erica didn't wait this time. She turned and ran out of the hall, past the parked cars, through the side entrance of the building, and into the women's restroom. She locked the door behind her and collapsed onto the floor. The tears came before she could stop them. Not just for the slap, or the embarrassment, or the guests who laughed, but for every time she had swallowed her pain, hoping he would change. For every moment she made herself small, thinking he would notice her sacrifice. That night on the cold bathroom tiles, Erica stopped hoping. Enough was enough. She stood slowly, wiped her tears, and stared at her reflection in the mirror. The woman looking back wasn't weak. She was tired but strong, broken, but not destroyed. When she got home, Raymond was already asleep, snoring lightly as if nothing had happened. She didn't speak. She didn't scream. Instead, she went to the storage box in their bedroom closet and pulled out the old brown folder, the one with their business registration documents, property deeds, bank papers, and legal files. For the first time in years, she sat down and opened them all, and what she found inside almost made her smile. The soft hum of the air conditioner filled the silence of the living room as Erica sat at the dining table, files spread out before her like puzzle pieces waiting to be solved. It was nearly 2 a.m. Raymond was still asleep upstairs, his chest rising and falling like a man without a care in the world. But that was about to change. Erica flipped through the pages slowly, carefully. Property deeds, bank statements, business registrations, receipts, tax documents, and car finance agreements. She read each one twice, then again. And there it was. The house they lived in, the same one where he slapped her in front of a crowd, was still registered in her name. The business, Playzone Technologies, was co-signed under the startup she had registered years ago with her aunt. Her name was on every official paper, every license, every tax form. Even the Benz he drove around like a king had been financed through her late father's trust account. Erica blinked, stunned. Then slowly a small breath escaped her lips, not a laugh, not a sigh, but something that felt close to relief. He had built his entire image, his empire, on borrowed power, her power, and the best part? He didn't even realize it. Thank God she had been smart enough back then to keep her own name on everything, even when he insisted they move everything to his side for convenience. She had trusted him, but not blindly. Now, she was done being the silent investor in his ego. She reached for her notepad and began writing, dates, departments, actions. Her handwriting was firm, her thoughts were sharp. She wouldn't yell, she wouldn't beg, she would take it all back, piece by piece. Silently, strategically. By the time the sun started peeking through the curtains, she had already drafted a plan. First, freeze the joint business account and remove his signatory access. Second, alert the electricity and internet providers he had been delaying payments under the company name. Third, contact her lawyer to begin the quiet process of transferring business control to her personal account. And finally, change the locks. Raymond wouldn't see it coming, because Raymond never looked twice at what didn't concern him. And to him, she had stopped mattering long ago. Erica packed up documents and returned them to the folder. She placed it under her pillow, not because she thought he'd look for it, but because it was finally hers again. Her life, her name, her voice. The Erica who used to dream alongside him had died long ago, and the one who remained was ready to rise. By the time Raymond came downstairs that morning, stretching and yawning like a man with no enemies, Erica was already dressed. She moved through the kitchen with quiet purpose, her eyes calm, her phone buzzing occasionally with responses from the people she had contacted during the night. Her lawyer, the bank manager, her cousin who worked in real estate. Raymond didn't notice, as usual. "Do we still have the bottled juice from last night?" he asked, not even glancing at her. "In the fridge," Erica replied simply, pouring herself a cup of tea without looking up. He walked out of the kitchen, humming under his breath, phone in hand, probably messaging one of the many women who had replaced conversation with his wife. Erica didn't react. She had no more energy to waste on pain. Everything inside her now was strategy. At exactly 11:17 a.m., the manager at City Edge Bank confirmed that the joint accounts had been successfully frozen. "Ma, he no longer has signatory rights on any of the linked business profiles," the manager said over the phone. "And access to the company cards has been revoked, effective immediately." "Thank you," Erica said softly, pressing the phone tighter to her ear as she watched Raymond's car pull out of the driveway from the upstairs window. He had dressed up in one of his expensive Italian shirts and sleek brown shoes, clearly on his way to impress someone. She didn't care who. It was around 1:20 p.m. when the call came. Raymond's number lit up on her screen. She let it ring out. Then again and again. At 1:35 p.m., a text came in. "What's going on with the card? It's declining. Did you touch the account?" She stared at it, her face unreadable, then placed the phone down and returned to filling out a security service form to reprogram the house's alarm system. Meanwhile, across town, Raymond stood red-faced inside a luxury boutique, holding 2 designer handbags and a sour expression. His new mistress, some influencer girl barely in her 20s, stood beside him, confused and clearly embarrassed. He had swiped the card 3 times. Declined. He tried a transfer. Failed. Then, in frustration, he called the bank. "Sir, your joint account is currently restricted pending review. You are no longer listed as an authorized operator." "What? Who did that?" he barked. "Madam Erica Okoye," the banker replied without hesitation. Raymond ended the call and immediately dialed Erica. She didn't answer. He tried again and again. No response. By nightfall, Erica sat in the living room as the locksmith finished changing all the locks. The gate remotes were reprogrammed, the security code on the door reset. Even the Wi-Fi password had been changed. "Everything is done, madam," the technician said, handing her a new set of keys. "Thank you." She paid him, saw him out, and then walked back into the house. Every room looked the same, but for the first time in years, it felt like hers. Truly hers. Around 9:30 p.m., the screech of tires echoed from the gate. A few seconds later, Raymond's voice boomed through the intercom. "Erica, open the gate. What nonsense is this?" She didn't move. "Erica, I swear, if you don't open this gate..." She muted the intercom and sat back down. He banged the gate for several more minutes before finally driving off, confused, insulted, and furious. He never imagined Erica had it in her, but he had forgotten something important. She built everything, and now she was tearing it all down, quietly. The next evening, just as the sun was setting behind the compound walls, Erica heard a car pull up again. This time, she didn't need to check the security camera. She already knew who it was. Raymond stormed toward the gate like a man possessed, his shirt half-buttoned, his face flushed with anger. When the gate didn't open, he began pressing the bell furiously, then pounding with both fists. "Erica!" he roared. "So this is how you want to play? You embarrassed me. You think freezing my accounts and locking me out is a joke?" Erica stood by the window, watching him calmly from behind the curtain. When he picked up a stone and threatened to break the gate light, she finally stepped out through the main door, her arms folded, her expression calm. He froze at the sight of her. "Still," he barked, "this is still my house. I built everything here. You're nothing without me." Erica walked closer, not rushing, not flinching. "You haven't seen anything yet," she said quietly. Raymond laughed bitterly. "You? You think you can run things? I made you. You cannot live without me. I own you." Erica's face didn't change. "No, you don't. You never had and you never will," she replied, voice steady. "You were living on borrowed power. Now I'm taking it back." He stared at her, stunned for a moment, like the words hadn't quite registered. Then he turned and walked away in disbelief, muttering insults under his breath. Erica stood there for a long moment before going back inside and locking the door behind her. Later that night, she sat quietly in her room and opened the bottom drawer of her wardrobe. Inside, wrapped in brown paper, were the original copies of the business registration forms, dated almost 2 years ago. She ran her fingers over the pages, memories flooding in. She had almost signed everything over to Raymond back then. She remembered how excited she had been to support him, how love had clouded her judgment. But her aunt, Auntie Grace, had stopped her. "Erica," she'd said firmly, "put your name on every single document, not because you expect the worst, but because you never know." At the time, it had felt cold, unromantic, but now, Erica closed her eyes and whispered, "Thank you, Auntie." Because if she hadn't listened, if she had let love blind her completely, everything she had worked for would have been gone. The next morning, a different kind of chaos erupted. Erica was already in his office at Playzone headquarters, reviewing legal files, when the assistant burst in. "Ma, he's here," she whispered. "Sir Raymond." He forced his way in. Before Erica could respond, the door slammed open. Raymond charged in, his eyes wild, shirt crumpled, jaw clenched. "You think you've won?" he shouted. "You think this company is yours?" Before Erica could speak, 2 uniformed security guards followed him in. "Get him out," she said calmly, not raising her voice. "Now." The guards grabbed his arms, and though he resisted, they held firm. "I built this," he yelled, thrashing. "You can't erase me like this. You guys work for me, not her." Erica followed as they dragged him down the hallway. Staff stepped aside, eyes wide. In the main lobby, she stopped and turned to face him, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Raymond Okoye," she said with quiet authority, "you are now trespassing. This building is under new management. The staff? They answer to whoever signs their paycheck, and that is me. If you set foot here again, I will file a restraining order." The office was silent. One of the receptionists gently nodded. "We stand with you, Ma." Others murmured in agreement. Raymond stared at the faces around him, faces that used to smile at him, respect him, admire him. Now, they looked at him with disgust and pity. He wrenched his arm free and stormed out, slamming the glass door so hard it echoed. Erica stood still, not moving, not blinking, until the door closed behind him. Then she turned and walked back to her office, not as the woman behind Raymond, but as the woman who built it all, and was finally claiming it. The office felt different after Raymond's outburst. Staff whispered less and worked more. There was a new energy, tense but respectful. Erica moved through corridors like a woman rediscovering herself, answering emails, reviewing old plans, and slowly taking back control. That afternoon, just as she returned home from the office, the doorbell rang. It was Aunt Grace. Her aunt stood at the door holding a paper bag of groceries, and a look that said, "I already know everything." Without a word, Erica stepped aside and let her in. They sat in the living room, the same space where Raymond used to spread out his business ideas, where they once shared laughter and silly plans. Now, the silence between those walls felt heavy, but not uncomfortable. "I heard," Grace said gently, setting the bag on the table. "The party, the slap, the office incident." Erica looked down at her hands. "I didn't know how to tell you." "You didn't have to. I raised you better than to stay silent forever. There was a pause. Then Erica nodded, a soft smile tugging at her lips. Thank you for making sure my name was on everything. I wasn't going to let your father's hard-earned money vanish into someone else's dream, Grace said firmly. I loved your parents, and I promised them I'd protect you. Erica swallowed hard. Her voice cracked. You've been a mother to me. And you've been more than a daughter, Grace whispered. She reached over and held Erica's hand. Now it's time for you to be more than what he reduced you to. They sat in silence, warmth passing between them. Then Grace straightened. Come on, let's pack his things. Erica blinked. What? Grace smiled. If he wants to live like he's single, let him pack like he's single. I'll bring the boxes. Erica laughed, genuinely for the first time in weeks. Later that night, after Grace left, Erica sat by the window with a folder in her lap. She had hired a lawyer earlier that day, a sharp, well-spoken woman named Susan, who didn't waste time with pity. They had gone over everything: property ownership, business shares, marital trust, even digital rights. Erica now had certified copies of every important document, all neatly arranged. Raymond may have mocked her for staying home, but while he was out chasing shadows, she had kept every receipt. 2 days later, Raymond returned, not with an apology, but with 2 uniformed police officers. Erica opened the gate herself, standing tall in a fitted blouse and jeans. Her hair was tied back, face bare but glowing with quiet strength. Good afternoon, madam, one officer said, politely but cautiously. We received a report from Mr. Raymond Okoye. He says he has been locked out of his residence and denied access to joint property. Erica raised an eyebrow. Really? Raymond stepped forward smugly. Officers, I live here. This is my house. She's trying to throw me out illegally. Without a word, Erica walked into the house and returned with a neat file. She handed it to the senior officer. This is the deed of ownership, she said. The house is in my name, purchased through my late father's trust. She flipped a page. Here's proof of physical assault, photos of the bruises on my arm from the night of his party, and a witness statement from a staff member. The officer read quickly, his expression shifting. Do you have a tenancy agreement, sir? He asked Raymond. Raymond blinked. What? Any legal document stating you own or rent the property? He was silent. Because if not, the officer said, handing the papers back to Erica, then she's within her rights to revoke your access. Raymond stared at her, his mouth opening, then closing. Erica met his eyes calmly. You forgot something, Raymond. This house, this life, was never yours. You were just living in it. The officer nodded respectfully. Have a good evening, madam. They left, and this time, Raymond didn't shout. He walked away slowly, the full weight of his loss settling on his shoulders. Erica closed the gate gently behind them. Then she turned around, walked into her house, and locked the door. For good. The court date arrived on a gray Thursday morning. Erica sat quietly in the back seat of her lawyer's car, watching the streets of Lagos blur past the tinted windows. She wore a navy blue dress and a soft cream shawl, nothing dramatic, just simple, clean, and strong. Beside her, Susan, her lawyer, tapped through documents on her tablet, unbothered by the rising tension. Today we let the facts speak, Susan said without looking up. You've already won half the battle by being prepared. Erica nodded slowly. She wasn't nervous, not anymore. Outside the courthouse, the press had started gathering. A few curious eyes followed her as she stepped out of the car. She ignored them. Inside, as they waited for the hearing to be called, Erica sat in a quiet hallway near the courtroom entrance, flipping through a file for the last time. Her mind was calm, focused. Then a woman approached. She was tall, well-dressed in a silk two-piece suit, with quiet confidence in her walk. Her red lipstick was perfectly applied, and her tone was low and steady. You don't know me, she said gently. But my name is Sandra Thomas, and I think we need to talk. Erica turned, studying the woman's face. There was something familiar in her eyes, not pity, not judgment, just understanding. Sandra continued. I was with Raymond for almost 9 months. He told me you were mentally unstable, that the marriage was over, that he stayed with you out of guilt. Erica blinked, surprised but not shocked. He said you ruined his business, Sandra added, that he lost everything trying to fix you. Erica let out a small, bitter laugh. So he's recycling lies now. Sandra smiled faintly. I'm not here to console you. I'm here because I found out the truth last week. About the company, the fraud, the house, the accounts. I hired a private investigator, and it led me here. She opened her designer handbag and pulled out a small folder. Inside were screenshots, voice notes, receipts, and messages. Everything Raymond had used to emotionally manipulate and financially exploit her. He used my name to secure credit, Sandra said quietly. Told me it was for a recovery project. I paid millions. Erica stared at the documents. This wasn't just about abuse anymore. This was fraud. Back in Susan's office that evening, Erica and Sandra sat across the desk while Susan reviewed the new evidence. This changes things, she said, adjusting her glasses. What was supposed to be a divorce, Erica added, is now a criminal pattern. Susan nodded. He didn't just lie to women. He used their names, their accounts, their trust. We can file a new motion, expand the case, add charges of financial abuse and fraud. With Sandra's cooperation, this could shift the court's position entirely. Sandra leaned back in her seat. He picks women who have something to lose, and he plays the long game. Erica folded her arms. Then it's time we show him who he's playing with. For the next few hours, the two women worked side by side with Susan. They organized the files, labeled recordings, time-stamped bank transfers. Every detail mattered now. What started as a quiet divorce had grown into something bigger, a pattern, a scheme, a network of lies that needed to be exposed. And Raymond, who thought he was too smart, was finally about to face women smarter than he ever expected. Over the next several days, Erica and Sandra met regularly in Susan's law office, each visit adding more fuel to the fire burning under Raymond's feet. Sandra handed over everything. Voice notes of late-night calls where Raymond begged for loans and pretended to cry, receipts of wire transfers made under false pretenses, even a recording of him laughing to a friend about how emotional women are easy to control. Susan worked like a surgeon, precise, relentless. She compiled everything: property ownership papers, text messages, emails, financial statements, and forged signatures from the early business agreements. Erica watched her work in quiet awe. You're going to win this, Susan said one night, closing a file with confidence. This isn't just a divorce case anymore. It's a fraud case, a domestic abuse case, and a wake-up call. But Raymond was not going down quietly. 2 nights before the next hearing, he posted a video on social media. It was shot in a dimly lit room. He wore a faded t-shirt, his face unshaven, his eyes red, like someone who hadn't slept in days. I gave her everything, he said into the camera, voice trembling. I loved Erica with my whole heart, but women of today, once they taste money, they become monsters. I built her confidence. I stood by her when no one else would. He looked away dramatically. Soft piano music played in the background. Now she's taking everything from me. My house, my company. She froze my accounts. She kicked me out like a dog. Is this what love means now? Is this what a man gets for building a woman up? He paused, then added with a shake of his head. A man would never do this to a woman. By the next morning, the video had over 300,000 views. The comments were brutal. This is wickedness. So because you married a woman who gave you startup money, she should ruin you. This Erica is heartless. This is why men don't trust successful women anymore. This is why men don't take money from women. If the roles were reversed, the man would be in jail. Why is she still free? Erica read the comments in silence, the pain rising like bile in her throat. She had done everything quietly, legally, with restraint, but they didn't know the full story. So she showed them. Susan helped her release a carefully curated video, just 2 minutes long. No words. Just photos of Erica's bruised cheeks from slap, a screenshot of her name on the property deed, a snippet of the voice note where Raymond admitted to using Sandra's account for emergency business funds, and finally CCTV footage from the night of his attempted break-in. Yes, Raymond returned. He scaled the fence after midnight, thinking she'd be asleep. He had convinced one of his friends to help him climb over. He smashed the back window and forced his way into the living room, shouting her name like a madman. Erica had locked herself in her room. But she wasn't scared. She was prepared. By the time he reached the hallway, banging on doors and throwing curses, police sirens were already howling in the distance. They arrived seconds later. "Hands in the air!" an officer shouted. Raymond froze as torchlights hit his face. "Wait, I'm the victim," Erica opened the bedroom door slowly, holding a small remote in her hand. "I called them," she said calmly. "The moment you stepped onto the property, the officers dragged him out, cuffed and cursing. The next day, the footage went viral. This time, the narrative shifted. Wait, she had bruises. He is a woman beater? He is such a shameless person to physically abuse his wife like that. I judged too quickly. This woman is strong. We owe Erica an apology." Erica sat quietly on her couch, wrapped in a blanket, sipping tea. Auntie Grace had just left. Susan had called to say more witnesses were coming forward. And now the world knew the truth. Not because she shouted, but because she documented. Because she had the courage to protect herself before it was too late. And because she had finally chosen herself. Raymond was granted bail 2 days after the break-in. The news spread fast, and once again opinions online were divided. Some said it was the court playing soft because he's a man. Others called it the system at work. But Erica didn't react. She had learned long ago that public noise meant nothing without solid truth, and she had plenty of that. Court resumed the following Monday. The courtroom was filled with reporters, observers, and familiar faces from Raymond's past, some there for gossip, others out of quiet regret for ever supporting him. Erica sat in the front row beside Susan, dressed in a simple black dress and a sleek scarf wrapped around her shoulders. Her fingers were calm, her back straight. Raymond arrived with his lawyer, still trying to keep up appearances in a crisp blue suit, but there was a crack in his confidence now. His face twitched when he saw Erica. He sat, shifting uncomfortably in his seat. "All rise," the bailiff called as the judge entered. She was a tall woman with a commanding presence, her glasses low on her nose and her expression unreadable. The trial began. Susan stood with quiet grace, submitting the final round of evidence, documents that now tied every thread together. The power of attorney Raymond had tricked Erica into signing, which she had revoked legally months ago. Property titles proving the house and 2 commercial plots were registered solely under Erica's name. Bank records showing account transfers Raymond had made from business funds to pay for luxury items and gifts to his mistresses. Sandra's evidence, which included voice notes, forged contract copies, and money trail reports confirming fraud and misrepresentation. The courtroom was silent as the documents were displayed on the large screen. Raymond tried to interrupt several times, but the judge raised her hand. "You'll have your turn, Mr. Okoye. Let her finish." When Susan finally sat down, the judge adjusted her glasses, picked up the file, and spoke. "After careful review of the evidence presented to this court, witness statements, certified documents, recordings, and financial logs, this court finds that the marital trust and all attached business holdings, properties, and assets belong legally and solely to Mrs. Erica Okoye." A gasp spread through the room. Raymond's jaw dropped. "Furthermore," the judge continued, "this court notes a recurring pattern of financial abuse and emotional manipulation, confirmed by both primary and third-party sources. While criminal charges are still under independent investigation, this court hereby strips Mr. Okoye of all rights and access to the shared businesses, homes, and accounts." Raymond tried to speak, but no words came. He slumped back into his seat, humiliated and defeated. It was over. Outside the courtroom, cameras flashed as Erica and Susan walked down the stairs. A reporter called out, "Mrs. Okoye, any final words?" Erica stopped, turned slightly, and said softly, "The truth speaks. Sometimes it just takes time." Then she walked away. Sandra met her at the car. "It's just a matter of time now," she said. "Once the fraud investigation is done, he'll be locked up for good." Erica nodded. She didn't smile. She didn't gloat. There was still pain in her chest. But there was also peace. The nightmare was almost over. And the life she gave up to build for someone else? She was ready to rebuild it for herself. Just a few days after the courtroom victory, Erica thought the dust was finally starting to settle. She was wrong. Sandra called on a Wednesday afternoon. "There's something you need to hear," she said over the phone. "It's about the girl Raymond is with now." Erica paused mid-email. "Another one. She's not just anyone. Her name is Tina, a university student, young, naive, reminds me too much of you. I think her story is similar to yours." Erica's heart sank. They arranged to meet that evening at a quiet rooftop cafe in Victoria Island. Sandra came with files, screenshots, and a calm fire in her eyes. I did some digging. Tina thinks she's his future wife. He's been grooming her for years. Erica was silent. A cold heaviness grew in her chest. Does she know about me? The case? Sandra shook her head. I don't think so. I think he probably fed her the same lies. But they have been together for so long, even before he married you. Erica's breath caught in her throat. Wait. Before? Sandra nodded. Yes. I don't know exactly how long. Erica sat back, stunned. All this time she had believed Raymond started cheating after the marriage. But now, it was clear. The betrayal had begun before she even wore the wedding gown. She felt like she was the mistress in her own marriage. We need to talk to her, Erica said quietly. They reached out gently, not through threats or shame, just honesty. It took some convincing, but Tina finally agreed to meet them alone, in a neutral space. She arrived nervously, her backpack clutched tightly to her chest. Her eyes were tired. Her hands trembled slightly when she reached for the glass of water on the table. I'm sorry for meeting like this, Erica began softly. But we needed to tell you the truth. Tina looked between them, unsure. Sandra pulled out a folder. We're not here to hurt you. We're here because you deserve to know who you're really with. At first, Tina defended him. He told me you were never really his wife, that you are not obedient, she said quietly, and that you were just part of a business arrangement. A phase. He said he had to marry you to gain leverage, but I'm the one he loves. Truly. I'm his real wife. Erica blinked, stunned but composed. He said you didn't understand him, Tina continued, that you tried to control him, that he stayed with you for convenience, but he only truly loved me and only me. Did he ever hurt you? Sandra asked gently. Tina's shoulders tensed. Only when I argue, or ask too many questions. But he always apologizes. Has he ever hit you? Tina nodded slowly, tears beginning to fall. Yes, sometimes. But he paid my school fees, she whispered. He helps my mother. He pays our rent. I don't know how to walk away. I feel like I owe him. Erica reached out and gently took her hand. You don't owe a man your body, your peace, or your future just because he gave you help, she said softly. That's not love, that's control. Tina cried quietly for several minutes. Then finally her voice cracked. He's planning something. He said the court hasn't seen the last of him, that if you push him too far, he'll destroy you. Erica's jaw tightened. Did he say how? He said something about hacking company systems, wiping records, faking ownership, and moving money to untraceable accounts. Sandra exchanged a look with Erica. Would you help us stop him? Erica asked. Tina hesitated, then nodded. With Tina's help, they uncovered everything. Access logs to fraudulent transfers. Voice memos of Raymond coaching her on what to say to police if ever questioned. Photos of account screenshots he had bragged about. Hidden funds under false names. Diverted payments from clients. Ghost staff salaries. Susan began building a fresh case, this time not just for fraud, but for money laundering and intent to commit cybercrime. Every legal loophole was reviewed, every potential exit closed. Raymond had danced between cracks for years, but now he was standing on a floor with no cracks left, only consequences. And Erica, no longer the quiet, invisible wife in the background, was now the woman making sure justice landed exactly where it belonged. Soon, the trap was set, and it didn't take long for it to spring. With Tina's full cooperation, Susan submitted all remaining evidence. Screenshots of bank transfers, recorded confessions, text messages detailing Raymond's schemes, and voice notes where he coached Tina on how to lie to the authorities. It was a complete case file. Clear, damning, final. The police moved in less than 48 hours later. Raymond was arrested outside a hotel in Lekki, trying to meet with a known contact suspected of helping him shift funds offshore. He didn't see it coming. One minute he was checking his wristwatch. The next, he was surrounded by officers. The charges read like the opening of a crime novel. Attempted theft, domestic abuse, financial fraud, cybercrime, money laundering, identity manipulation, and more. Each one backed by cold, solid proof. Erica received the news with quiet relief. No cheers, no celebration. Just a slow, long breath as she stood by her window and watched the sun dip behind the buildings of the city she once felt invisible in. Her phone buzzed with messages from people who had doubted her, condemned her, laughed at her pain. Now they sent apologies, admiration, even support. But she didn't reply. This was never about proving herself to the world. It was about reclaiming herself for her own life. That evening, Erica sat alone in the same living room where Raymond once told her to stay in her place. The space felt different now, lighter, brighter, whole. She thought about the girl she used to be, the one who smiled through disrespect, who kept quiet to avoid conflict, who thought love meant sacrifice, even when it was breaking her. And she thought about the woman she had become, not bitter, not loud, but sharp, certain, free. The best revenge isn't loud, she whispered to herself, sipping her tea. It's legal, it's strategic, and it's final. To the outside world, her story had become a headline. But to Erica, it was a message. So when she finally spoke publicly, during a quiet interview hosted by a women's foundation, she didn't just talk about Raymond. She talked to the girls like Tina, the women like her, and the silence that almost swallowed them all. If you're in a toxic or abusive relationship, get out now. Don't wait. If he's your boyfriend and you're thinking marriage will change him, you're wrong. If he hits you now, manipulates you now, mocks you now, he'll do it worse with a ring on your finger. And if you're already married and staying because you're scared of what people will say, you're also wrong. People won't save you. People will gossip while you bleed. Save yourself now, while you still can. Because the dead tell no tales. The room was silent. And then it erupted in quiet, tearful applause. Erica didn't smile for the cameras. She didn't pose for the press. She just stood tall, gave a small nod, and walked away, no longer a shadow of her former self, but a woman who had found her way back to the light.